The First Winter Away from Home. It outlines the journey of a young man named Arian, a 23-year-old from a small South Asian village who leaves his entire family behind to start a brand new life in America. So let's dive right into this and look at the real anatomy of profound personal sacrifice. Think about it for a second. What does it actually take to leave absolutely everything you love behind? It isn't just a geographical move. It's a massive emotional severing. For Arian, and millions of people exactly like him, the catalyst is a dream: to give his family a better life. The stakes are just immense here. It requires this quiet, almost unimaginable strength to pack up your entire existence and step straight into the complete unknown.
Section 1. The Final Goodbye.
Picture this. You're in a chaotic South Asian airport. Arian is desperately trying to maintain this facade of strength. He's the responsible one, right? The one carrying all the hopes of his family. But his internal reality is mirrored right there in his family's raw grief. His mother's hands are visibly trembling, his father is just silently wiping away tears, and his little sister is fighting a totally losing battle trying not to cry. It's truly a masterclass in unspoken emotional weight. And right before he walks away, his mom presses something into his hands. It's just a small cloth bag. But let's unpack what's inside, because we all know this isn't just luggage. It's a literal survival kit of memories. You've got homemade dry food for a taste of home, an old family photograph functioning as a visual anchor, a small religious book for some spiritual grounding, and a handwritten letter which he decides he won't even open until he reaches America. These tiny items carry a massive psychological weight that's going to become absolutely critical later in our story.
Section 2. Arrival in a Cold Land.
Talk about a sensory shock upon arrival. The contrast is just jarring. You have the warm, intimate, deeply familiar life of his village suddenly replaced by the massive, sterile, cold reality of an American airport. It's utterly unfamiliar to him, he's facing severe language barriers, and honestly, the most isolating detail of the whole thing, no one is there to pick him up. He has to navigate this massive new world completely alone. He takes a solitary Uber ride past these towering, intimidating skyscrapers and bright city lights. Which brings us to a really devastating reality. His first night in America isn't a celebration. He spends it in a tiny hostel room, silently crying himself to sleep. The emotional isolation is total, and it's crushing.
Moving into Section 3. The Weight of Isolation.
The daily reality he faces is a compounding trauma. And yes, trauma is the right word here. It's not just one big hurdle. It's death by 1,000 tiny cuts. He's working exhausting, menial jobs at gas stations, restaurants, doing deliveries. People are constantly mispronouncing his name, subtly chipping away at who he is. He sits and eats lunch entirely alone, every single day. He's experiencing a profound loss of identity in a foreign land. He's basically a ghost in a machine he doesn't understand. But how does he present all this to his family? Here we see that universal immigrant motif. The fake smile. He smiles on video calls back home, telling his worried mother, "I'm fine." Meanwhile, the actual reality of his life is grueling and it's incredibly lonely. He just absorbs all the pain to protect his family from worrying about him. It's a profound, quiet act of sacrifice.
Which leads us to Section 4. The First Winter.
Imagine the harsh, completely unfamiliar cold and heavy snowfall of an American winter. For someone from a warm South Asian village, this is totally alien and honestly terrifying. And then he hits the lowest point. The heater in his room stops working. He is physically freezing and emotionally exhausted. So what does he do? He reaches for that cloth bag his mother gave him at the airport. He sits there in the freezing cold, surrounding himself with those memories, just trying to survive the night. He finally opens that handwritten letter, and the emotional anchor of his entire journey reads, "No matter how far you go, the door of this home will always remain open for you." In the freezing dark, those words are an absolute lifeline. They give him the exact psychological strength he needs to keep pushing forward when literally everything else is telling him to give up. But winter is not done testing him yet. Arian is walking home after a long, exhausting shift. A blinding snowstorm hits, and he literally gets stuck in the snow. He's trapped. The isolation he's felt for months is now an immediate, life-threatening physical reality. But then, a miracle happens. An elderly American man finds him, rescues him from the storm, and actually takes him into his own home. Inside that warm house, the cultural and generational divides just completely evaporate through shared humanity.
The elderly American man sits down with Arian and shares his own story, and it turns out he too was once an immigrant. He knows exactly what that cold feels like, exactly what the profound loneliness feels like. In that moment, Arian is truly seen for the very first time since he arrived.
And that beautiful encounter leads us to such a profound thematic revelation. Home is not a place, it's people. Through the pure kindness of a stranger who shares his pain, Arian's entire perspective shifts. The isolation is finally broken, not by a change in geography, but by real human connection.
Section 5. A Promise Fulfilled. Let's trace the architecture of this resilience. 1 month in, the shock of arrival and crushing isolation. 6 months in, surviving that harsh winter climax and finding shared humanity. And finally, we hit the 1-year mark. 1 full year of silent suffering, freezing walks, and eating alone. But at the end of that year, he actually does it. He sends his first significant savings back to his family in South Asia.
And what does all that sacrifice actually buy? A tangible, breathtaking reward. On his next video call home, he doesn't have to just say, "I'm fine," through a fake smile anymore. He gets to see the real-world impact of his quiet strength. He sees a brand new tin roof on his family's house, protecting them from the elements. And he sees bright new school books for his little sister, completely altering the trajectory of her future.
Our documentary journey closes on this image. Arian is standing outside in the snow. But it's no longer a threat now. It's just weather. He looks up at the sky, bridging the thousands of miles between them, and whispers, "Mom, I'm doing it." It's a triumphant, tearful victory that he earned through unimaginable grit.
Now, Arian's specific story might be fiction, but the reality it represents is playing out all around us, every single day. So I want to leave you with this final thought. What sacrifices have the immigrants in your own community, or perhaps your own ancestors, made to build a home here? Because behind every accent, behind every quiet person working a long shift, there is so often a cloth bag of memories and a truly monumental story of sacrifice.